where he says he's had to do it to keep TfL moving, knowing full well that that includes the review of the staff pension fund, knowing that it includes millions of pounds worth of savings, and knowing that it may mean far worse arrangements for people's contracts. And then he wants to put his kind of socialist credentials on and say, I'm behind the people of London and the tube staff. It doesn't stack up for us, and I don't think the staff accept it because they're all on strike today.
You don't think he's on the side of the worker?
I think he'd like to think he is, but, you know, my belief in life is it's not what you say, it's what you do. I'm John Leach, I'm RMT Assistant General Secretary.
John, tell me about the dispute today. Why is the TfL staff on strike?
The London Underground staff, our members and Unite members, are on strike today in defence of their pensions, against job cuts, and in protection of their contracts, their conditions of employment. The Mayor of London done a finance deal with the government to keep TfL running, and he's put on the table the staff pension fund and millions of pounds worth of savings, which will be delivered essentially through cuts. And we've got 600 station staff cuts to begin with happening. They're happening now, including some here at King's Cross Station. They are not ruling anything out. We've asked to see where all these other cuts are coming. They won't tell us where they are. And the staff pension fund, which is absolutely precious. And all we're talking about here is a reasonable, decent final salary pension scheme. We're not talking about a lottery win. We're talking about people having reasonable pension dignity. And that's on the table now. They're reviewing it. They've got to come back with a report in January. That report's about making people retire when they're older, paying more, and the benefits potentially being worse. So that's why the staff are out today, and I commend them for it. They are sticking together like they do every single day when they keep London moving, and you know, that's what this is all about.
A lot of people, the general public, when they hear that there's a strike on, the natural assumption is that it's about pay. But in this case, pay's not really the issue, is it? It's terms and conditions.
It's nothing to do with pay whatsoever. It's to do with people's contracts, their conditions of employment. It's to do with their pension being attacked, and it is being attacked. And it's to do with hundreds of job cuts on the stations to begin with. Now, let me make that into context. There's millions of pounds worth of other savings coming. We know that. The company, the employer, will not tell us where they are. We've asked to demand where they are, so we have to think where they may be ourselves. People who do the maintenance work, people who do safety checks on trains, maybe train drivers, maybe people in command and control and power and electrical lifts. We don't know. They won't tell us. So we have major concerns, and what we won't allow is the tube to be made less safe, and we will not allow our members' rosters, their working hours, their work-life balance to be made worse. Why would we? So this is about a strike keeping things out that they should be and how they are. So it's not about pay.
The Mayor of London is a Labour politician, Sadiq Khan. The clue's in the name, right? Labour. Do you think he's on the side of the striking staff?
The Mayor of London's position in this is he seems to want to face both ways. He wants to do a deal which he then applauds with the government, where he says he's had to do it to keep TfL moving, knowing full well that that includes the review of the staff pension fund, knowing that it includes millions of pounds worth of savings, and knowing that it may mean far worse arrangements for people's contracts. And then he wants to put his kind of socialist credentials on and say, I'm behind the people of London and the tube staff. It doesn't stack up for us, and I don't think the staff accept it because they're all on strike today.
You don't think he's on the side of the worker?
I think he'd like to think he is, but, you know, my belief in life is it's not what you say, it's what you do. And what's happening is the staff pension funds being reviewed to be making it worse. Hundreds of job cuts are being imposed, and also the contracts and conditions of people are in jeopardy, and we've sought guarantees and they won't give us them.
The RMT would appear to be making some headway in its other disputes on the national rail network. Do you think there's much prospect of there being a breakthrough here in the negotiations in relation to TfL?
There could be, and there could have been earlier this week. We offered to suspend this strike on Tuesday. Our officials were at the table and we said to them, we'll suspend the strike. Just don't impose these job cuts right now. Give us to the end of the year to keep looking at that issue with you. Tell us that you support the fact that the pensions shouldn't be made worse, and show us where these cuts are going to be. So we made them an offer. They declined it, which is incredible. They declined the suspension of a tube strike. So when we're dealing with a management like that, I do begin to wonder whether or not they even want to resolve the dispute, or they have the will to or instructions to. But the proof of the pudding is we did it on the main line, which goes to show that we can cut the deal, we can make progress, and we haven't resolved the disputes on Network Rail or the train operating companies, and far from it. But we could make some progress which enabled those strikes to be suspended.
If we look at the last year, 2 years in relation to TfL and the underground network, obviously COVID had a huge impact on the operating costs, operating loss. If someone says to you, look, this is an ideal situation, but we've got to make these savings somewhere, how do you come back to that argument? What's your alternative rather than, facing these job cuts or this raid on the pension fund?
Yeah, well, we regard that society should be based upon people's need, and we should have a tax system which faces that way, and where the richer people pay a proportionately larger amount towards providing society the money that it needs. So we need a fairer system, don't we? And that's what's needed here. And that can be done, because we know there's billions of pounds worth of profit being made out there. That should be redirected towards social need. I'm outside King's Cross Station, there's people sleeping in the street, and yet we're hearing about millions and billions of pounds worth of money being made in profit. So we need a rebalancing, and that needs to be trickled down into the finances of TfL, and they shouldn't put the staff pension fund on the table in negotiations. They should actually make it better and allow people who aren't in it to join it. We're not talking about a lottery win, it's just a reasonable pension.
What do you think it says about our society? I mean, you mentioned it there, the people sleeping rough around the station, these huge profits that energy companies are making. There's money in the economy, right?
Of it. Yeah, there's lots of it out there. We know that. We know that in the railway industry. We know that because we go and have a look at their books. We are entitled to, and we do, and we see that on the mainline railway, for example, the train operating companies siphon off 500 million quid a year profit, and at the same time want to level billions of pounds worth of cuts. So it's there. It's just there isn't the political will to make it happen. But we will stand up for ourselves, and we are. And I commend RMT members and Unite members today in London Underground that are doing this.
Just a final word, John, on the mainline dispute. What is it that brought you back to the table, and what's the outlook looking like in terms of getting to a negotiated settlement?
Well, there's two sets of negotiations there. The first set are with Network Rail. And in Network Rail, they'd moved to what we call an imposition stage, where they said we're now bringing in this modernisation set of proposals, which we can't accept. With a timeline of imposition. We had to call a strike then, because we can't allow that. We have to negotiate change. They stepped back from the brink on that and said, OK, we'll get back into the negotiations with you proper, and that enabled us to recalibrate and refocus on that, because we called the strike on that basis. And in the train operating company side, the negotiations are going to go to what we call a formal stage now. And that is significantly different from where we'd been, which was informal. And we've told both Network Rail and the train operating companies we need a written offer from them by the 17th, which is next week. And then we'll take a position on that. So we felt that it was imperative as well that we keep the entire union together. That's 40,000 RMT members from Scotland all the way down into the West Country. So, we'll see where those negotiations go. And we felt that was best to take that action off to enable those talks to continue.
Thanks very much for your time. Really appreciate it, mate.
Cheers.
That was great, mate. Thank you.